So I will let you introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Dave Freelove. I'm the Idaho Energy Code circuit rider. I provide all the technical assistance for residential and commercial energy codes in the state of Idaho. My role is to be the one source resource, I guess you would say, for the state of Idaho for any questions in relation to the residential and commercial energy codes, working with, the code officials, the designers, engineers, and the public at large.
So how did this program originate in Idaho?
This program originated through NEA, Northwest Energy Efficiency Alliance. The brainchild behind it was David Cohen. He was with NEA years ago, and he had the vision of creating, the one resource stop place to go for the energy codes, within his region. Idaho was selected. I'm not exactly sure why Idaho was selected to be the one of the very first energy code circuit riders. And we've been doing it. It will be now, I believe, our 11th year that I've been doing this now here in the state of Idaho.
Well, I know we've mentioned the word circuit rider several times now. How would you describe what a circuit rider is?
My definition of what the circuit rider does is seeing how I've handled it over the last decade. In the beginning, I traveled extensively across the state of Idaho, visiting different jurisdictions, working with Idaho Association of Building Officials, going to their chapter meetings, and just reaching out, to everybody I could in the state of Idaho, just to make them aware of the support that they had, what I could do for them. And as a circuit rider, it's very important for circuit riders to be non-biased. We can't come across as being pro code, and we can't come across as being pro builder. I make it very black and white on how code compliance can be achieved. And then, working with either the code officials or the designers on how we can, achieve compliance with whatever kind of provisions they're working on.
The one thing I would say is, what is it that you think that the circuit rider program really provides for the entity? I understand the whole concept of kind of playing that middle of the road type of situation. How would you feel that this is really a benefit?
Well, we've seen really good benefit in the state of Idaho, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's work. It's taken several. I would say it takes several years to get people up to speed. But the biggest thing that I feel I've achieved in the state of Idaho, working with the different jurisdictions, is creating that education and understanding of the energy code. I am a firm believer that if something is complicated or misunderstood, that it will not be enforced, or enforced fully. So what we have really created here is just, number one, we're educating the jurisdictions and the designers on how to comply with energy code, and as well, we're creating consistency across the state, so we never get mixed messaging, to different jurisdictions. So we're really striving and have achieved, good consistency across the state of Idaho.
What would you say is probably the most impact that you have had as far as the circuit rider program and energy compliance?
Overall, the biggest impact that I believe has happened, that we've achieved here in the state of Idaho, is that we've achieved that consistency across the state in our major jurisdictions. Where our state may be unique, or different than other states, we're very rural in a sense in Idaho. When you look at the map as a whole, we have very isolated areas of where our major populations are in the state of Idaho that are fairly spread out. Actually, we have eastern Idaho, the Boise Valley, and then northern Idaho. So it's just created a great consistency, great understanding of the code. We've given them a lot of education, a lot of resources, to meet that compliance or have a better understanding of the energy code. Probably the one thing that's been the largest or the most impactful, thing we have achieved in the state of Idaho is, our man-J calculations. We're doing every new home in the state of Idaho, we is required to have, do a man-J calculation, a duct design, and then as well as we have statewide air balancing. So anytime, that's kind of the final piece that you have to do when you're doing a man-J is get that air balance done. In other words, it proves the design and it lets us tune that design for the homes. And we've just, to me, it's been the single biggest energy saver. It's created the better environments in the homes. The customers are a lot more satisfied with their HVAC systems with comfort. And, we've seen significant reduction in our equipment sizing in the state of Idaho. One study we looked at, on average, we reduced the sizing of equipment in the state of Idaho by 40%. So that was a very impactful thing that we have done in the state of Idaho, and it's done everywhere now. It literally is done for every new construction in the state of Idaho, no matter what jurisdiction is doing it.
That is such an accomplishment. I applaud you for being able to do that. Now, I heard a rumor that you travel around the state with this trailer and you kind of provide this demystification as far as things like what a blower door test, so there isn't that mystery behind how all of that works. Is this true?
Yes, I do have a trailer that is loaded full of equipment, when we're doing duct pressure testing, blower door testing, flow hoods, all this fancy equipment that, is actually very simplistic, but this very intimidating looking equipment. And what, over the last 5 years, we've been providing all of the air balance certification in the state of Idaho, the training for that, as well as DET, which is duct envelope tightness testing certification. So if I bring the equipment to you, I can take, go out in the field with jurisdictions, contractors, different individuals, and we can give them a hands-on and show them exactly what this testing is doing, what it's achieving for us, what it is showing us. And it really has taken the, I guess, quote unquote, scary out of, blower door testing and, duct pressure testing.
I got to tell you, I think that's absolutely wonderful, because I think, and I'm sure you would probably agree that when people talk about, moving to a new energy code or the energy code, the first thing that really comes to mind is that blower door test. And I think being able to see how it's performed and what it does really does help with the understanding of, oh, okay, we can do this, no problem. It's easy.
Yeah, one of the biggest fears with blower door testing, and it was a huge hurdle for us to get to where we were partially implementing blower door testing here in the state of Idaho. Currently, with our amendments, we only require that 20% of the housing be tested, be doing blower door testing. But it's anytime you do this big steps, you always have to do it little steps at a time to get there. So we got our foot's in the door. This has been a great opportunity for us, only testing 20% of the houses, to provide that education, to work through the bumps in the road, I guess you would say. If maybe there's stuff we're not seeing, maybe we do need to enforce it in a different way so that it works for the builders as well as the jurisdictions. And it's really helped take the scary out of that blower door testing, because we are baby stepping our way into it. We did that with the man-J. We baby stepped our way into that. It took us about 2 years before, we were seeing full implementation of that, within a few jurisdictions in the state of Idaho. And then we just grew it from there because there was a better understanding of it and how it worked. one of the big answer questions, or one of the big points of contention on blower door testing is, typically we're going to test that at final. And if we fail, what do we do? And we had those questions arose, as a huge concern for the code officials as well as the builders. So, we had roundtable discussions, we worked through that, and we came up with compromises to where, hey, we know what to do here, and it's not going to be this huge disaster if you do fail the test. We know there's things we can do that are very easy and uninvasive on the structure, that we can get the house more than likely where we want it, to achieve our code compliance. So we've not had issues. We've had some complaining, and we've had to drag some, behind us, but overall we've had very good compliance. But we've also have been very understanding and listen when we're dealing with our contractors and our code officials on, how do we make this work for everybody.
Well, the one thing that really resonates with me with what you just said is that taking the baby steps, because a lot of times maybe groups out there that are like, it's got to be an all or nothing. We have to do it all now. And, the first thing when you're building is you build a foundation. You have to have a real strong foundation. And in my opinion, what you're doing is really creating that really strong foundation to build upon, for energy compliance. So I applaud the fact that you guys are kind of taking that step. I think it's great.
Yeah, we learned, I've been heavily involved in code adoption and amendment in the state of Idaho, from the 2012 code all the way up until, our current codes. So we learned pretty quickly that when you fire hose the builders, or anybody for that matter, with this new regulation and they don't understand it, you're just going to get 100% pushback from them. So we really work on, baby stepping our way into compliance, with the energy codes, or even the building codes now. It's worked like that, because I even remember my frustration as a code official. I mean, my history is I've been a builder, I've been a code official, and understanding that frustration that, it just gets thrown in your lap, figure it out. And that doesn't work. It doesn't work anywhere, in my opinion. So we've strategized. We have to be, far looking when we're, just having discussions on, implementing new codes, or bringing in more stringent provisions on energy codes. So it's a slow process, but you'll get there. We really will get there.
So what would you like to share with the audience about this type of a program?
Well, I think this program's, there's a lot of time dedicated to it, at least on my part. There's a lot of dedication to it, as far as, completely understanding the codes, and being able to just provide a good service to the people you're working with. Giving the funders good value, and then knowing how, figuring out how we can quantify, our achievements, because that's important as well too. So this type of program has been, it's a great resource for the residents of the state of Idaho, from the code official side to the building official side, or building official, code official, to the builders, designers, everybody, and really has worked to get everybody to work together, everybody to have that open forum of discussion without really taking offense to it. We just, me even mediating a lot of stuff that goes on here in the state of Idaho. Let's say, for an example, a builder doesn't agree with what a jurisdiction is requiring them to do. So this program can be a mediator between those two. Of course, I have no authority over jurisdictions, but it's really just created a working environment for us to find options and maybe have to think out of the box on some things, and really teaching your jurisdictions and your builders, yeah, code says XYZ, but what was the intent of that code provision, and where can we achieve the intent of that code provision? So the program, of course, we've seen really good compliance in the state of Idaho. We're not perfect. Nobody is, but it's really through education, the personal training, the hands-on work that we've done with the individuals in the state of Idaho has just really created that feel of being comfortable with the energy code, understanding the provisions and how to comply with it. And I'm a firm believer, after doing studies in 14 different states, that the level of compliance is directly related to the level of enforcement. So we can write all kinds of words in books, we can put all kinds of information out there, but until it's understood and they're comfortable with it and they will enforce it, then we realize the compliance.
Well, I appreciate you participating in this video. I'd like to give you the opportunity to kind of offer parting words.
Well, I do appreciate having a conversation with you today. There's I solely will not take responsibility as having achieved all the greatness myself. There's been a lot of great people that I have worked with over the last decade here in the state of Idaho. I've had great mentors, and I appreciate the people I work with. I appreciate the people that fund us. And we're forward looking. We're going to keep pushing on, and we're going to move forward. And thank you for your time, and I hope that you folks have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow
as we continue the Sustainability Membership Council's Building Safety Month video series, Building Our Sustainable Future.